Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 4 and episode number 634 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Friday. Thank God I'm Friday, April 25th, 2025. And it looks like it's going to be a nice day here at the Beaver Lodge. There's lots of clouds in the sky, but it looks like there's going to be a little sun and kids and cubs. I'm a very, very happy beaver because got my racket, got my stylish tennis visor,
I'm assuming the courts are open now.
got my patriotic water bottle. Yes. And I've got a match scheduled. I was supposed to play it yesterday at 3 and it started raining at 2. Why? So yes, I'm going to see what my skills are like after not playing at all because there are no there's some interior courts around here that recently arrived, but it's about an hour and something away by bus, and it costs so much that it's not worth it. So yeah, I haven't played since November, so it will be a little rusty, or maybe it'll be like last year where I just got on the courts and I was just acing it. You never know. But I've got new shoes, so I will be styling. I'm a happy beaver. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and Psychic Tarot Canada, or PsychicTarot.ca if you're looking online. Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health today, sir?
It's rapidly improving. Better
Ooh.
today than it was yesterday. Obviously, much better than it was the day before. So yeah, I'm doing good. But I don't know how long I can do this for because my back is absolutely killing me this morning. Getting out of bed took a few minutes. Walking to the studio took a few minutes. I'm in a great deal of pain, and I have no idea why. Although you can see my forehead here, that's Lola jumping on the bed in the morning to wake me up.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's not why my back is hurting. It was hurting before she jumped on top of me. So, and she's sitting right here beside me. You heard her earlier when we were just before we went live, and she's super eager to go out this morning, like crazy. It's really early too for her. Normally she's still asleep, but now that the sun comes up early, she keeps going.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Kids and Cubs, we have a show for you. But before we get into it, just a little programming note. For those who will be watching the elections returns come in on the 28th, if you would rather do it with a group rather than do it by yourself, well, then you can join us because we will be having an election night special. And I've reached out and we will be having a great group of guests.
Oh,
We
okay.
will have Don Darling, the former mayor of St. John, New Brunswick, joining us for a little bit, hopefully. We will have High Tide Hilda popping in for a little bit from out east. We will have Sean Rouse from New Brunswick, who's been on our show before, coming in. We will have, hopefully, Mr. Tyler Watt.
Oh, cool.
Yes, an MPP now for the Liberal Party in Ontario. We will have Joel McLeod from the 905er come in and say hello. So a new friend of the lodge here. Well, not new friend. We've been chatting before, but he'll be his first time on our show. We have asked Laura Babcock if she could come, and she says she's going to try to swing it. She's got another radio commitment, but if she can make both work, she will come. We have asked Adam McGillivray out in BC, and well, actually, he wrote us before we could write him saying, "Are you doing something?" So we've got all them, and we've got a couple of other feelers out to other people. But yeah, a whole bunch of people that will be popping in for 15 to half an hour throughout the evening to just chat. We did ask Rosalind Roy as well if she would come. Unfortunately, she is taking a little bit of time for self-care. Unfortunately, got a bit of a coughing bug. So yes, that's not great for live.
No,
radio.
no.
But does send her greetings and really, really wishes that she could be coming, because otherwise she would have definitely maybe made some time there. So, but we have a couple of other invites out there. So hopefully we will have more guests to announce over the next couple of days. But we will try to make it a fun and interesting viewing experience that'll be a different alternative from what the networks are offering. So if you would like to watch it, join us. It'll be a long night for me, but it'll be a lot of fun. All right.
Just things that pop up in my feed that make me chuckle. I'm going to share this with you because it's funny and you'll get a kick out of it. And it's a Friday morning, so let's be whimsical. What the hell is that?
What?
Why is it? I don't. What the hell just happened? There's some weird stuff going on here with the restream. This is what you think Russian prostitutes look like. What they really look like.
Ouch.
So in the top frame, it's a group of women dressed in unique styles. And in the bottom frame, it's a picture of Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and J.D. Vance. And it says, "What you think Russian prostitutes look like? What they really look like." That's for the listeners. Yeah.
Yeah. Donald is having a little trouble. If you haven't heard, there, just a little aside before we get into it. But apparently, he went to the Pierre Poilievre School of getting autocrats to stop doing things. Remember when Pierre bellied up to the podium during the campaign and told Donald to knock it off?
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently, Donald Trump, who said that he would bring peace to Ukraine in one day,
24 hours.
Apparently, it's not going very well. It seems that, guess what? Vladimir Putin has absolutely no interest in peace.
Yeah.
Who knew? Everyone. So apparently, he is not even adhering to whatever terms he's agreed to and bombed a whole bunch of stuff. And well, yesterday, Donald Trump was like, "Stop, Vlad."
Oh, the bot army is out in full force this morning. I'm going to share this quickly because I don't think you've seen this yet. I've known who Mark Carney is for over a decade and disliked him for years. I've also known he'd be the next Liberal leader for years. Don't project your ignorance. This man is a snake. He does not have Canada's interests at heart.
Yeah.
Okay, so a blue check mark. Corey, let's look at blue check mark. No way he's known Mark Carney for a decade, number one. Number two, he joined in April 2025 from Alberta. And he's known Mark Carney for a decade. That's what we call a bot army, folks. If you believe that, we have some beautiful oceanfront property in northern Saskatchewan for sale. Best price for you, my friend. Best price.
Special price for you. Kirkland Lake Bot Farms remembers.
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm like, really? This guy can't be more than 25. That photo of that person, which is probably an AI.
Maybe they're ski buddies.
Yeah, oh yeah. Ski buddies, yeah.
Hey, you could be friends when you're 12 and 50 something.
Yeah, that's, you
The
went skiing
conservative
once.
said so.
Yeah, you went skiing once, so you're ski buddies.
Oh my God, I'm so bitchy today. I'm so
It's okay.
sorry.
It's the mental gymnastics, right? The mental gymnastics.
Okay.
I don't know if I haven't shared this on the program yet, but I'm going to share this now quickly. Something I've noticed in my neighborhood, which, as we all know, I live in Centertown, Ottawa, where the occupation took place, and who brought the occupation coffee and donuts and was proud to do it and took lots of selfies. Well,
Skippy, it was Skippy.
there's stickers going up around town.
Oh.
Yes.
Gee, delayed gratification. I'll tell you that. God, that was almost tantric.
Well, I've seen them all over Centertown, like quite literally. I'm like, what?
Again, for people listening at home, apparently there are now "fuck Polyev" stickers. They finally decided to make a couple days before the election.
Well, they're like I said, they're all over my neighborhood. See,
Oh, yeah.
all throughout Centertown. I've seen them everywhere. They're two photos that I snapped and posted to the Twitter, but I thought let's just share them on here because you know what, we're all about sharing.
Sharing is caring.
It is indeed. So yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, people around town are saying, all right, we've had enough of this crap monkey.
Well, apparently, if you're looking at the polling, because some people who want to remain nameless and journalists won't name publicly because they're sources from the Ontario Progressive Conservative Party who are sharing polling data again, are kind of the data that's been shared kind of indicates that in the area of Ottawa in particular, the Liberal votes at about 51%, and the Conservative votes at about 30 something, which is kind of fueling the rumors that Pierre might be in trouble because even though Pierre might normally be in the lead in the seat, given that the overall general vibe in Ottawa is kick the bums out. Of course, Ian Brody going all Tim Hudak about the public service probably didn't help. Musing aloud about Pierre will move very quickly to cut the public service. Yeah, in a city that already dislikes you because you allowed them to take it hostage for about 4 weeks. That'll sell. Way to go, Ian. Keep talking.
3+ weeks, but
yeah. So that's part of the buzz. So the overall bathwater is pretty anti-conservative in the whole region, just to start with. So that's why people, another of the reasons why they're thinking, and of course, Bruce Fanjoy has been competing and campaigning like a champion.
yes, I've had the pleasure of meeting Bruce in person and sharing a beverage at a memorial for Scribulatora. For those of you who remember, you will remember. Her partner was there as well, and Bruce is a really sweet man who he's not just well intentioned. He actually believes in this country. He believes we can be better. He believes that he can make a difference. And this is a man who put his money where his mouth is because he says this we cannot let things go the way they are.
He's been doing this for about 2 years now.
About 2 years now, yes. And yeah, Linda, no one deserves to win more than Bruce Fanjoy.
Yeah. He's been doing this. He's been doing this with his full chest.
Yes. Yeah. He's a very nice guy. And I said to him, I said, would you like to come on the show? He goes, I get it. I said, I get it. You're always welcome here. He's been campaigning. He's trying to make a difference. So he's like, I don't want to get on the show. And I said, no, you don't need to explain it. I totally get it. I can be a little caustic sometimes, aggro, a little inflammatory. I get that. I understand that. And there's no secret that we are centrist but left-leaning progressives. We are very public about that. We don't keep that a secret.
Biases up front.
Up front. I've said time and time again, We aren't liberals. We aren't conservatives. We are Canadians who care about this country and will do what we need to do to make it a better country. So we can put party politics aside when it comes to what we see as the best part of this country and how we can make it better.
Hmm.
If Mark Carney was the head of the Progressive Conservative Party, if we had a Progressive Conservative Party, he would be getting my vote.
He would still be the adult in the room.
This is the thing, right? If he was the head of the Green Party, although Elizabeth May is an adult in the room, it just
Yes.
yeah,
She never got the credit she deserved.
yeah. But it wouldn't matter what party he's the head of. He is the man for the job at this point in time.
Hmm.
And as Canadians, I think a great number of us, I'd say the vast majority of Canadians, recognize that. There are certain folks who will always vote Conservative because that's what my grandfather did, so that's what I do. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that. I have family members like that, and that's fine. It's fine. I'm not gonna fault you. You don't ever actually listen to what anybody says. You just vote with your traditional means. So those folks will never be swayed.
Mm-hmm.
They're either liberal or conservative, and they will vote that way no matter who is the head of the party, no matter what the party says, because that's how they've always voted. The sad thing is, so many of them do not realize that the party that they once supported no longer exists.
Exactly. Oh boy. Okay. That's good. Glad you said that, Mr. Grizzly. For those who are before we again get into the meat of the show today, yesterday was a pretty important day. This week happens to be Holocaust Remembrance Week. So yesterday was Yom HaShoah, which is Israel. It's observed as Israel's day of commemoration for the approximately 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust by Nazi Germany and its allies, and for the Jewish resistance in that period. In Israel, it is a national memorial day, so there was a lot of people observing that yesterday. You may have seen some messages from our leaders with regard to that. So we wanted to make sure that we mentioned that as well. In the same theme, unfortunately, today is Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. So we're remembering a lot of people that terrible things happened to, unfortunately, today. On the lighter side of things, though, for those of you who are still hanging tough, it's New Kids on the Block Day. It's also, yes, it's Sauvignon Blanc Day, World Meningitis Day, Big Brothers and Big Sisters Appreciation Week. And I had a big sister when I was a foster kid. Really, really great service. Something that you should support if you can. And it is Canadian Immunization Awareness Week as well. And I got a shot the other day. What do you know?
I had a shot last night. I was helping out a buddy, and in his pub, he was having some audio issues. So he says, "Can you?" And I went, "Yeah." I'm 2 minutes away, so I ran over and helped him out. And then he says, "I'll buy you a pint of Guinness." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So I sat down at the bar, and there was somebody sitting there, and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I go, "I'm just working on the sound system. There's an issue here, so I gotta fix it up." And he goes, "Hey, here you go. Have a shot." I go, "Oh, what is this?" He's like, "It's Fireball whiskey." I'm like, "Oh, okay,
Ooh,
okay."
yes.
The reason I ask is because if it's what is the stomach aid? Jagermeister.
Oh,
In Germany, it's you don't shoot it. You like literally, it's designed to help settle your stomach. But
okay.
in my case, it's like Epicac because I am allergic to it. And if I drink a shot of Jagermeister, within minutes,
Jagermeister.
it is coming back. Yes. So if somebody says here, I always ask what it is. So yeah, I had a shot last night, and then I sat and had a pint of Guinness. Then I came home and sat on the couch and watched the hockey game with my my ever loving, beloved little 85-pound love hound.
Oh, God.
That's
He is
us
so adorable.
watching the game last night. Yeah,
Oh, my God.
yeah.
Oh, and the game again. Why
Another
are you
heartbreaker.
universe? Why are you doing this to me?
Well, once more, outplayed, outshot, outperformed. Didn't get the result we wanted. But it's just here's I've talked to a couple of Leaf fans who are very nervous. They're like, "Yeah, okay, we'll probably win this series." I'm like, "No, the Leafs will probably win the series. You're not part of the team." Yeah, all right, fine. They know they're not getting out of the second round if they continue to play like this. They're literally, if they continue to play like this and they come up against whomever the next team is, which is a team that has been in the playoffs before and has playoff experience, they know they're not getting past them. They're just they're not playing like it's playoff hockey. And that's the honest to goodness truth. Like, they are limping across the finish line. And I'm not trying to kick somebody when they're down because they're up by 3 games, but deserving to be there and being there are two different things. That being said, scoreboard is what matters in the end, but they're not. If they don't pick up their pull their socks up and start playing a little harder, they're going to get bounced quickly in the second round.
Then there's got to be a whole bunch of world of credit that's going to that goaltender.
Yes, because he's literally holding them together. That's the only reason they're still in that game, in that series. That's the only reason. And he's a heck of a goalie. He really is.
Yes.
Is he the best? No, but he's playing at a level that is getting his team. He's Carey Pricing it.
Universe, you are killing me. That's all I'm saying.
I say Carey Pricing it, which is what the Canadians did. Is like, okay, we'll score 2 goals. Carey will save everything. Nobody will score anything. I'm like, you can't win that way. You need to score more goals
unless you do, right?
Yeah.
Jeez. So yeah, yesterday 3-2 overtime. Leafs over Senators again.
Yeah.
Senators, and like the last night against Montreal, Senators scored the first goal this time around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still, and then yesterday, the St. Louis Blues, I don't know what happened to them, but somebody lit a fire under them. 7-2 over the Jets.
Yeah, that something happened there last night. I'm like, what the hell?
3 goals in the first, 4 goals in the third, and nobody scored anything in the second.
Well, and here's
4 goals for the Blues, 6 goals in all, actually, in the third period, because that's when the Jets scored their 2.
Here from Mohan, he's like, a hot goalie can get you a Stanley Cup. That is correct. Yes, a hot goalie can get you a Stanley Cup. You do need to score more goals, though.
Yes.
I mean,
yes. And that while all this is going on, there's also the Under-18 World Championships going on, and Team Canada defeated Slovakia in the first match of the pool play, 9-2 yesterday. So there you go.
Oh, did you know that there was an anniversary yesterday? We neglected to celebrate an anniversary yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up. I can't get it to go the way I want it to for some reason. When I try and access the thing, it takes me somewhere else. It's because, well, I don't know, Facebook. But it was 1 year ago today. 1 year ago yesterday when Pierre Poilievre visited the border encampment at Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. When he stumbled out of the trailer.
Stumbled out of the trailer and I pulled it to the kitchen, poured myself a cup of ambition.
Well, 9 to 5. I give him credit in that he works a lot more than 9 to 5. He does. He does. I mean, the work he does is damaging to Canada and Canadians, but he probably works about 18 hours a day. I've never denied that. We have been very upfront about that since the very beginning. Yes, he puts the hours in. Unfortunately, he puts them in trying to do harm.
And judging by this campaign, and all the wrong things, too.
Yeah.
Should have spent more time on his platform. Maybe. Perhaps. Or vetting candidates, maybe. I mean, he had 3 years. Not exactly 3 years, but we're talking like Pierre right now. We're rounding up. 2 years and 1 day is 3 years. So, hey, he's a size queen and he loves fun with numbers. What can you say?
Okay. That was funny.
What? Everything's bigger in Pierre's version of Texas.
Mhm.
Jeez.
Yes.
Yes. All right, kids and cubs, as we
I
normally do.
almost let slip a story. I almost let slip a story that somebody told me in confidence about two politicians who met up at a gay orgy out west somewhere. And the one politician was like, "Well, it's no problem that I'm here. Everybody knows I'm openly out and gay. But what are you doing here? Because you like to have a beard, and this we all know. But I'm not saying the names. I'm going to leave it at that. But it was
Mhm.
like, you know the story. I've told you in confidence.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm
It's
not going to. Yeah,
yeah, you would think that the first one would still be preoccupied about being found at an orgy. So, it's like, everybody knows that you're gay. I'm just not sure everybody knows that you go to orgies. So, there was
yeah.
still a little bit of mutually assured destruction there.
Well,
Different cutout.
yeah. Well, and like I said, the one individual is like, yeah, it's no big deal that I'm here. Everybody knows. I'm not. He. It's no secret that he's out and you know, good for him. The other one who's been hiding so deep in the closet, he doesn't know where the handle to the door is. Which, fine, that's his right. That's his right. He doesn't have to be out.
Nope.
However, as we both know, this individual has done some harmful things to the community
Mhm.
and has boasted and been proud about doing harmful things to the community,
Mhm.
of which he is a member.
Mhm.
So please explain that to me because I don't understand it.
Mhm. Well, I'm glad you didn't let the story slip out. Okay, moving on.
I didn't. I'll
Okay.
be Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. I see nothing. I know nothing. You remember that? Exactly.
All right.
I don't know what you're talking about. Wasn't me.
Taking a little look at the polls as we do every morning. More tightening. Uh, again,
Mm.
small tightening, but still more and more and more, and we're getting closer to the margin of error. Margin of error. Sounds like a movie title. Margin of error thing. But in the seat projection, you can still see it's still within a range. There's not much changes, but if you're
Mhm.
looking up at the vote tallies, uh, then of course chances of election outcome, you can see a slight little dip here. We're no longer. Yesterday, I think we were. I don't know what it's saying. That's a little too small on my screen there.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, it's well, let's see.
Yeah.
I can blow this up here and I'll explain it. I'll do some explaining to do. So 338 Canada odds of winning the most seats, 89% for the Liberal Party, 10% for the CPC. Odds of election outcome, 68% for the Liberal Party. Sorry, it's really hard to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. I should just go back to the original
So
source on it.
Liberal Party has got a 68% majority, 21% plurality, 10% plurality for the Conservative Party, and less than 1% for majority for the Conservative. And
Okay.
we still 42.2% for a Liberal candidate, our Liberal leader Mark Carney, current Prime Minister of Canada. 38.5% for the Conservatives, 8.8% for NDP, and then there's the Bloc, the Greens, and the PPC, of which they don't even add up to 10%. So that's where that sits. And I think there's one more slide here. Yeah, okay. So odds, what are the chances of each party winning? 74% probability of the Liberals winning a majority, 17% probability of the Liberals winning the most seats, but not a majority. So by all projections, they're looking at 190 seats to the Conservatives 125, 22 for the Bloc, 5 for the NDP. Is the NDP going to lose official party status?
It very well could be.
It looks like it, right?
Yeah.
That's a
Yep.
little
But
disconcerting.
like we're saying, this election might end up having us clean house. The Liberal leader's already gone. It looks like a certain thing that the NDP leader will be gone after this. Uh, there's even doubts that he will win his seat in Burnaby. Certain polls show that he is running third, even for his. Blanchet was in danger of being bounced after this when they were showing seat counts under 20. Now there are some seat counts over 20 being shown, but I mean, he's been there a couple of times now. And, the last time he was before Sachi Curl threw him a life vest, he was on the ropes there again. And he made a point a couple of days ago on the campaign because I guess somebody asked him saying that I'm not going anywhere and I'm staying. Well, that's not your decision. And if you're being asked it before the campaign, then there might be some rumblings that your best before date might be up. And then, of course, Pierre Poilievre, a lot of people are saying if he loses, he's gone for sure. But if he loses his seat is definitely gone. But as we mentioned on the show, he's already abandoned his team and is preparing for what's next. And what's next is trying to save his job because he would like to remain. He would like to get it to be a liberal minority. This and him getting a certain amount of seats and saying, well, look, see, I didn't do any worse and we got a bigger vote share and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but you still blew a 25-point lead. It gets to go. You don't get a second chance. Especially since everybody seems to be lining up. Jason Kenney is lining up. Christy Clark is lining up. Maybe Jean Charest is lining up. Tim Houston put out a I am Nova Scotian sort of version
Yes,
had that
I saw
everybody
that.
turned around and said, wow, he's lighted up. Like some people go, damn, the body isn't even cold yet, man.
I thought that was pretty funny. I'm a Nova Scotian. Really? Because last I checked, that's not necessarily. Aren't you from Ontario? So be honest and just say you're a transplanted Nova Scotian. That's fine. Nobody would have a big problem with that. Just say you transplanted, Be honest. Don't lie. Why lie when the truth is good enough?
So yeah, there seems, and everybody's talking about Doug Ford, of course, wanting the job. So there seems to be a lot of appetite, and again, just so many instances of darn, you should have been nicer to people on the way up because my God, they're sure anxious to stick a knife in you, aren't they?
Boy, are we going to remember you on the way down.
Oh man, you keep on saying it's like took this line from the Daily Beans, but conservatism like the mafia, but without the loyalty. They're already slicing and dicing him, and you can tell the energy's gone from his campaign, right?
Oh
Like
yes.
just when he's talking and all that kind of stuff. But for some reason, the polls are still somewhat narrowing, so I don't know what the deal is there. Markets before we go in again, there has been more Trump running his mouth, of course, but it hasn't been swaying the markets too negatively over the past couple of days. Although the market has been making some counterintuitive moves. There are certain things that he's been saying and doing that should have made markets drop, whatnot, and they didn't. And nobody's actually sure why at the moment. So this little effervescence or bout of effervescence that we're seeing from the market might be a little illusory at the moment. If you're for those looking at the Asia Pacific area, it's a pretty decent day. Nothing too big. The Taiwan Stock Exchange again is the one performing the best, up 2%, but everything else except for the Nikkei, which is close to 2%, is between 0 and 1% improvement or a slight decrease, like less than 0.1% on the Shanghai Composite. In Europe, everything is up across the board, but just moderately so. Ooh, Lola.
She's very vocal this morning. I don't know what
Yes.
is like
Lola,
super,
Lola
super
not
vocal.
impressed by the stocks today.
Yeah.
In
Trying to
Europe,
fix that there.
everything's from like slightly up, like 6/100% on the FTSE 109 at the stocks 50, all the way up, all the way up to 0.88 from Italy. So pretty much treading water there.
Yeah.
And for the implied opens for North American stock market slightly down, 0.4% down for the Dow, 0.15% for the S&P, 0.2% for the Nasdaq futures. So that's a day that could go either way at the moment. No real way to tell here. Gold has been flying all over the place. If you see a gold chart there was a day this week that it went up uh, over $100 in one, like on the that's what the 20th here. So the 21st, between the 20th and 21st, it went up from 33.20 an ounce to 35.20 an ounce, which is a record high by far,
Mhm.
and then plummeted all the way down to 32.60 an ounce, and then back up to 30. So this thing, but gold is overall over the last while has just been that's the flight that really has been the flight to safety for everyone. It has been gold bullion, and even a little more risky, but gold stocks. And of course, you have like the seniors and the juniors and those that are a little more um, at the beginning of the process, right? So you can get in at various stages when you're talking about to buying gold companies, so the larger cap or the smaller caps, but all of them are doing really well.
Mhm.
So usually flight to gold when everybody's running to gold at the same time, that's a little concerning, a little bit. But yeah, gold is just going off the charts lately. Um, before we get into the major part of today's show, I have to issue a gentle correction on
Mhm.
myself. Kits
Yes,
and
I
cups.
understand.
I gave a bit of a misinformation.
I
Definitely
was you sent me the note, but I'm like, I don't know what you're correcting, so
Yes, don't worry. The reason I gave you the note, I asked you to send the note is because there's a uh, certain part in the correction that it was something I didn't mention on the show, but I put some notes in the show notes for yesterday that if there
Mm,
was time or if it came up to mention it,
mhm.
and something came up in the news that made this thing come up. And I was like, "Oh, darn." I was like, "See, I told you." Didn't I note that? So I wanted to just bring it up, and you will see what Mr. Grizzly will see what it is when we pop it up. But I was talking about Polyev um, getting himself into some trouble this way, particularly fiscally, because
Mhm.
he had refused help
Mhm.
from people who had the skills. Because Pierre has no economic background, right? Hasn't held a real job
Zero.
in an economic portfolio, hasn't held an economic portfolio in all the time he's been in government.
Although he liked to tell us he was housing minister
Yeah.
and 200,000 houses were built, which was that's a complete fallacy. None of that is true.
Yes, 3,472 houses were built. Only 6 of them were fall into the category of affordable housing,
Mhm.
as that he is somewhat responsible for. And during that year, total 200,000 units weren't built at all.
Correct.
It was like
And
194,000 or something like that.
yeah, so it's, he's always
Again,
got to round up to make things look bigger.
yeah, from 3,472 to 200,000. Again, size queen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
saying. Um,
Somebody needs a little blue pill.
um, so we're going to show you 2 little clips here, and they will help you understand why it is I'm making this gentle correction.
Okay. You have them? I'm trying to find the clips. Hang on.
Right under Note to Self, it says for clips, there's a YouTube address, and then there's
Oh,
YouTube
yes, yes, yes,
Concepts
yeah.
are right under.
Yeah, I've got that queued up. Okay, here
Yeah.
we go. All right, so let me just bring this up. And
So this is from
why is
yesterday's
what
Power
the-
and Politics.
It started to play right away. I don't even know what happened. Just a second here. I got something popped up strange on my screen. I pulled the clip up and it started to play immediately. I'm like, no, I don't want you to do that. And there was no sound, so it was being uncooperative to say the least. Okay, I got to back it up a bit because the start point is not accurate. So here we go. Just play it, and again, it did that. I don't know what it's doing here. Let's try.
Someone like Gérard Deltel could be an excellent spokesperson for the conservatives in Quebec, but just kind of low profile, not doing a lot of stuff. Everything is about the leader, and it all lives and dies with him.
Well, he's been disappeared from the map. I'm wondering if he's still running. We haven't heard from him since the election campaign started. It's a bit silly because you're running for office, but you're running away from answering questions. Democracy is about answering questions because you want to run the affairs of the nation. But if you don't have the courage to answer those questions, well, just stay home. That's my personal opinion. And we've seen that in Quebec a lot also. Candidates were invited over and over from the Conservative Party, but they all said no. And it's a sad story because, as you mentioned, Gérard Deltel is a very efficient communicator, very effective. He can sell the message, but he's not allowed to do it. So what does it leave Mr. Deltel to do? Just stay silent and not participate in any debates. And that's unfortunate because Mr. Deltel and many other Tory MPs in Quebec, they can sell the message, but they're not allowed to do it. So it's a bit silly season to me.
Yeah, David, I think there's going to be a reckoning after this election campaign if the Liberals win a majority. You've had not only the control, the way MPs and candidates have been treated like children, but there were 90 ridings that Jenny Byrne had kept to herself and selected people, and that has really gotten the craw of a lot of people who felt the Conservative Party should be grassroots. They should be nominating and electing people. It's the treatment of people like Doug Ford and Jean Charest and Mike DeYoung in British Columbia, people who could have been real assets for the Conservative Party. And then also where they had an opportunity, and we've all heard stories about high-profile and experienced former cabinet ministers who were prepared to run for the Conservative Party and were rejected. And now you cannot name, you wouldn't be able to name who would be the finance minister in a Poilievre government. It's been a one-man show. And I think at the end of this, when this campaign is over, and if they lose, I think there's going to be a lot of very unhappy Conservatives who are going to be voicing a lot of criticism about the leader and his campaign manager. Well,
Mia, on Bob's point, I had thought that Mike DeYoung might be the finance minister in a Carney government because he was the finance minister, in a Poilievre government. Bob planted that in my head. But, here we are. The purity test and the loyalty test got applied. And then the not dealing with the media thing. And look, I know people say this is all, you're making it about you and it's inside baseball. They're losing with boomers and people over 50. Guess who watches shows like this at critical mass? It's boomers and people over 50, of which I am one. So,
Yeah. Bingo.
Okay. Now, the first person they mentioned in all of that was Gérard Deltel.
Mm-hmm.
But I told you to look at the notes from yesterday. Who am I talking about in those notes?
Gérard Deltel. I don't know. I'm lost. I'm lost.
No worries. Yesterday, when I will show it here. So yesterday in the show notes that I sent to Mr. Grizzly, let's see if I can share the window here.
Should be able to. You have producer credits.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's written here. Additional note if it fits in. Same in Quebec with regard to Gérard Deltel. Gérard Deltel was the former leader of the Action Démocratique, an actual provincial party in Quebec.
The ADQ.
Yes. He was appointed the lieutenant for Quebec by Rona Ambrose when she became the interim
Prime Minister.
Yeah, leader of the Conservative Party. I'm not sure she became interim prime minister, but interim leader of the party.
Oh, you're right. You're right. She was not prime minister. Correct. Sorry. My
Yeah.
apologies. Yes, you are correct. She was just interim leader,
Yeah. When Andrew Scheer,
which prohibited her from becoming prime minister.
running for the leadership of the party, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Exactly. Andrew Scheer named Gerard Deltel to the shadow cabinet, made him a critic,
Mm-hmm.
right? He served as the critic for the Treasury Board.
Okay.
All right? That's a big
I'm lost
position.
in the sauce here still.
That's a big position.
Yes.
Erin O'Toole announced that Deltel would serve as the opposition House leader.
Okay.
Financial Treasury Board stuff, good enough to be the House leader. All the other parties like them. The Quebec lieutenant, Gerald Deltel's there. Use me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you're not conservative enough. Shut up.
Yeah. Okay. So he's not their kind of conservative, which is
Mike DeYoung.
Reform Party. He's not Reform Party enough, is what
Yes.
they're saying. Really, I mean, because it's
Mike DeYoung, finance minister in BC.
Mm-hmm.
Not good enough. Where's Pierre failing right now? On finances, the costing of his budget, and he's nowhere in Quebec. He had a former Quebec lieutenant of his party and a finance minister in a provincial conservative government, and he turned them both down because he knew better. Because his movement was just coasting to a victory, so we don't need you.
He is a hubristic narcissist. You can look those words up if you need to. But that's exactly who Pierre Poilievre is. He knows better than everyone. You can't tell him anything because he knows. Only I can do it. And I've had a conversation with a friend of mine recently. He says, well, I don't think calling him a narcissist is correct. And I'm like, it's absolutely correct. I said, I don't think you understand what that word means, because he is the very definition of a narcissist. The very definition.
He's diverting headquarter workers away from the national campaign to save his own seat because he thinks he has a shot at remaining as leader if he loses this election.
Yeah. Well, he's going to lose his own seat, and I hope he gets smashed.
He's already bailed on the team. And by the way, Gerard Deltel is running in Louis Saint Laurent, Aquia Wenrock.
Well, I need folks to understand that the riding that he represents, he has been absent for almost 3 years.
Mm-hmm. But he has great constituency workers who make sure that whenever somebody calls, they do get the service.
Oh,
they talked about it again yesterday on the news when I kept on saying he's a great constituency MP. He's not there all that often. That's true. But again, when the constituents call, they get service.
Is all that often? Is he ever there? Like, I mean, he's been absent for 3 years while he's spending millions of our dollars gallivanting about the country.
Well,
he spent more money than the prime minister did, for crying out loud.
He won't be absent there for long. It seems that he's holding his final rally in his home riding. Because nothing says I'm going on offense like.
Yeah, he cooked. He cooked.
Yes. Do we have the second clip from that segment? Because this is another person, and this is where the gentle correction comes in. This is another person whose help he refused.
I'm just trying to load it up here. It's crawling along for some bizarre
This is Joël Denis Bellavance from La Presse, who is making this remark that is to come here.
Just give me a moment while I pull it up. And almost there. Almost there. Yeah, that's for some bizarre reason, things are not cooperating today. Okay, now I have it. There it is. I don't know what was going on there. That was very strange. Restreaming sometimes do not cooperate well.
We're not hearing from them the way they want to.
And David, if I may...
10 seconds, JD.
Yeah, if I may add to David, to Bob's point about credible candidates running for the Conservative Party. The finance minister of Quebec, Éric Girard, who ran for the Conservative Party in 2015, I believe, and lost, was ready to run again for the Conservative Party. He was ready to leave his position as finance minister in Quebec and run for the Conservative Party. He was told bluntly, "What have you done for me lately?" And the answer, he basically was told, "Take a hike. We don't want you." So that's the kind of.
I got to take a hike because Ian's going to take the network. Bob Fife, Mia Rabson.
So yesterday, when I mentioned it was Carlos Léat-Litao, who's the Minister of Finance in Quebec under Philippe Couillard.
Mm-hmm.
It's Éric Girard, so I made the mistake. Carlos Léat is running in this election, but running for the Liberals in a riding. So I mixed up both of them. But it all went to the same, but the overall point that I was making is that were like ministers of finance and people that could have told him about Quebec and whatnot, that were willing, that approached him. And he said, "Nope. Turns out you don't got it.
You don't got it.
You don't got it seems." So yeah, just again, the arrogance, the narcissism, all of it there in display. So there are things that happened over there, and normally, Kits and Cubs, when things happen, I try to present them to you in chronological order, and then saving the big juicy stuff for the end as a payoff. But today we're going to do it prematurely. We're going to do the juicy stuff first because Mr. Grizzly's here, and I want to see his reaction.
Well, and I'm going to have to go shortly for two reasons. One, my back is killing me, and two, she is really, really impatient this morning. This is out of the ordinary for Lola. I don't know. Normally, she's like, "Okay, Daddy, it's 8:30, time to go," because that's our schedule. But this morning, she's just sitting here and complaining. So I don't know what's up with her this morning. I honestly don't. I don't know.
Okay. So earlier we saw Bob Fife.
Mm-hmm.
There was a story that came out yesterday about allegedly Mark Carney hiding stuff that he said on the phone call with Trump. We'll get to that later. But they're talking about the Polyev campaign here. And while Bob Fife, as you know, wrote that article that we read into the record yesterday about Pierre fighting for his own seat. So I would like you to watch this first snippet of it, where Bob is going to start this snippet with talking. Well, sorry, he's going to talk first and he's going to talk last in the snippet. And I want you to look at his face before he gets to start talking, because he is very, very, very happy to be there, it seems. And I want you to pay close attention to the words with which he ends this particular segment. And this with the caveat, as we've said many times, because we've showed you some clips, Bob Fife has no real love for Pierre Poilievre.
And no, that's pretty clear, yeah. He just, yeah. Let me pull the clip up here, and hopefully I've got the correct. So let's see here.
If you ever wonder what Bob Fife looked like as a kid at Christmas.
We're heading into that final weekend of the election campaign, and today the Conservative team added a last-minute stop to its Sunday plan, a rally in Pierre Poilievre's own riding just outside of Ottawa. Now, this comes after both the Globe and Mail and the Toronto Star reported that Poilievre may be in a close race to hold on to his seat in the riding of Carleton. Let's bring in our panel of veteran journalists. They're in Ottawa. Robert Fife. He wrote one of those stories. He is the Ottawa bureau chief for the Globe and Mail. Mia Rabson is the deputy parliamentary bureau chief at the Canadian Press. And Joël Denis Bellavance is the parliamentary bureau chief for La Presse. It's good to see you all. Bob, let's start with you and that story that you had a hand in. And is this the Bob Fife decision desk declaring Bruce Fanjoy elected in Carleton? What are your sources telling you about the state of that race?
Well, I wouldn't put any money on it. Look, I think it'll be still... It would be an upset if Mr. Poilievre was to lose that riding. It's one he's held since 2004. But the fact of the matter is that the Conservatives over the last few weeks have felt it was necessary to send in campaign workers to campaign for him. It shows you how tight a race it is in that Carleton riding. For example, some of the workers that are going into Mr. Poilievre's riding would normally be going into Peterborough. There's a riding held by the Conservative MP, Michelle Ferrier, which apparently she's in deep trouble with the Liberals. And we know from polls that the Ontario Progressive Conservatives have taken just this week in Ottawa. The Liberals basically are going to clean up in this city. They're at, I think it's 53% to 31% for the Conservatives. And that means that Mr. Poilievre is going to be facing a real challenge in this riding. And the Liberals have done their own internal polls of about 381 for that riding, which is that's a good number for a riding like that. And they are Mr. Poilievre is in a dead heat. So we'll see what happens at this. But let's face it, if he loses this riding and if he loses the election, boy, he's going to be in a lot of trouble with the party. Yeah. Given the tight control that he's managed over everybody,
Wow.
He is downright. That's for Bob Fife. That is giddy.
Yeah.
You see how big that smile was before he got to start talking?
He's enjoying the hell out of this. Like he's like, oh, I'm watching the downfall of this man, and I'm salivating at it.
When I watched that the first time, I was like, did he just say that?
Yeah. Okay, I really have to go. She is sitting here crying. This is out of character for Lola. She's crying at my feet. So I gotta go. I apologize, sir, but it's just as well. My back is. I think you can hear her. Let me put the mic a little closer. And of course, the minute I do that, she goes silent. Yeah, she's just
no
sitting
treats,
here.
no performance.
Yeah, she's crying. I have to take her out. I apologize. I got to go, folks. But my back is killing me, so I'm kind of at the end of my thing, and I have to save whatever is left in my back to take her out. So I'm gonna bail out early on a Friday. Normally I go a little bit longer than this, but unfortunately, duty calls. And I have to listen to my body. And when it says, dude, it's time to take a break, it's time to take a break. So I got to save what I can to take my beloved for a nice little neighborhood patrol because we go, you heard that? We got to go patrol the neighborhood. I will see you folks soon. I got to go. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, kids and cubs. So we will keep going because there's a lot of stuff there. Get saucy. Damn it, Paul. Don't dangle that in front of us. All right. Oh, man. So we will continue on with this little section. So, yes, Bob Fife clearly enjoying himself on the day here. Now, I'm going to continue on with Mia Rabson from Canadian Press and JD Bellavance from La Presse. And they're going to continue on this theme, adding, well, just more details and more substance that it was to get an idea of the full color and texture of what it is that is actually going on the ground. So, as we mentioned, we have it looking really tight in Poilievre's writing. Bob Fife saying that he doesn't see that he's going to lose his seat, really. But again, you never know. It is tight enough, and the party is at least worried enough that they're sending other people there. And now they are doing, we found out since, Mr. Fife didn't know this at this time, that he was on this interview, that the final rally will be held in Carleton. So it really is a save the furniture and save my seat rally. This is it's almost sad in a way, but I'm quite all right with it because he's just been such a dick. So he kind of deserves to be running scared for real for a little bit. But let's go on to what Mia Rabson and my apologies, what Mia Rabson and JD Bellavals had to say. And here we go.
Mia, I don't know if it'll get to the point of Carleton being lost, but it's interesting. New numbers from Elections Canada, 43,000 people voted in the advanced polls in Carleton, the most in any riding. And just you listen to what Bob's saying, it just shows how different this campaign has gone than what the Conservatives thought they were getting into when they spent a year and a half asking for an election ASAP.
The remarkable thing is that we were even having a discussion about whether Pierre Poilievre could lose his own riding. You know, he won that seat by 20 points in the last election. I want to say 15 almost in 2019. This shouldn't be a riding that they are at risk of losing. I mean, 3 months ago, everything was going to be a victory cruise for him. So the fact that we're even having this conversation today is just kind of shocking. I do think it's a sign of where this election is going, the turnaround, every sort of the topsy-turvy election that we're having. But yeah, I mean, even if it's close, he will have a lot of answers or questions that he will have to provide answers for as to exactly how this could have happened. It should be an absolute safe seat for the Conservatives.
JD, it's interesting. Elections Canada has apparently obtained a special dispensation to allow them to start counting advance ballots 2 hours before the polls close on voting day. But in Carleton, because the longest ballot committee, there's 91 candidates running there, so they're going to start counting 6 hours earlier, because you could imagine if this is a tight race and 91 names, it could be like 3 o'clock in the morning before we have a result there, like with the by-elections where this happened.
And Mr. Poilievre will be anxious to know the results, whether he wins that riding or not. And that's another problem that is piling on for Mr. Poilievre. And usually when you're on a winning ascendancy, if I may say, you go on the offensive. And that just shows that if the Conservatives feel the need to send staff to help Mr. Poilievre win his riding, it means that they're really defending what they have, their assets. And that means that it's a bit sort of like conceding that the election will not turn in their way on Monday night when you have to defend the leader's riding like this. And to me, that's a bit a symptom of the campaign the Conservative had since the beginning. And I was telling my colleagues before we went on air how shocked I am still today that the Conservatives seemed so unprepared for this election while they were calling for one for basically 2 years ago. And the number of candidates that was rejected, the kind of platform they came up with seems to me that this is not a platform that was written 2 years ago or was 2 years in the making. And lastly, that they were unable to pivot from their message throughout the campaign until they faced, some trouble in the polls. So that means that the Conservative Party, the way they ran their campaign, they were not prepared for this election. And surprisingly to me, because they were calling for one for the last 2 years.
Bob, I'm...
Okay. So there you go, Kits and Cubs. Little bit of a revelation here, things that we have been saying on the show for some time now. Surprised that Pierre wasn't more prepared. Surprised that going into the end that there were still some candidates to nominate. Surprised that this platform wasn't written for the better part of the last 2 years and only needed a few touch-ups near the end. Surprised that there was no pivot. Surprised that just over and over and over again, right? As we said, he put in the hours, but he seems to have invested them in the wrong place. Oh well, too bad. When you get high on your own supply and start believing your own hype and start underestimating your opponents, these are the strategic mistakes that one will make. So Pierre was clearly supremely confident that he was going to run against Justin, and all he had to do was keep on doing what he had gotten to where he was prior to the election, and that's all he would need to do, and he would just coast to victory. And it seems that fate had another plan for him. We're going to finish this little section here, going back to Bob Fife, where he is going to start broaching the subject of where it is that the candidates are going to end their campaign. Also, just want to make the note here, Kits and Cubs, that I do not have the ad-free service, so it is quite possible that an ad might pop on at some time. I will try to stop it as quickly as possible and then get back to what it is that they were showing here on the clip. All right. So let's set the screen for that for you so that you can see that Kits and Cubs and see what Mr. Fife has to say when he's talking about the hints that we can glean from where it is the teams are campaigning at the moment.
I'm surprised by where the Conservatives are in the final days of this campaign. Look, they're going to stop in Saskatoon because they haven't been to Saskatchewan. They don't want to ignore the province. I don't think they feel they're in big trouble in Saskatchewan. But you got to beat down the doors of the 905 if you're going to win this thing. Instead, you know, you're in Calgary, you're in Halifax, you're ending. I just thought we'd see Pierre Poilievre, you know, all around Mississauga, Brampton, York region, Hamilton, really for days on end. What are your thoughts of where they are?
Well, there's two things. One is I'm surprised he has to go into Calgary. Why do you have to go into Calgary? It should be a very safe area. So clearly they are concerned that they're going to lose some seats. Why would you go into Saskatoon? The Liberals have not won a seat in Saskatoon since 1993, but Mr. Carney has been in there, and obviously Mr. Poilievre feels he's got to go in there too because they're obviously afraid that they're going to lose seats. And so when you see leaders having to go into their own ridings, that means they're trying to protect seats from the Liberals. But you're absolutely right. Ontario is where the votes. This is what's going to form a majority government is in Ontario, and they should be working that 905. They should be working the 519. Should be working the Peel area, and they really are not doing that. And I wonder it's because we know from the numbers from the Ontario Progressive Conservatives that the Liberals are about 10 to 15 points ahead of the Conservatives in Ontario, and I wonder if they're just at this point realizing that they're not going to be able to pick up those seats. So why waste your time?
Yeah, I mean, Mia, sometimes, like, you know, you and I have been on these planes in elections. Sometimes the stop is just what's close to the airport so you can do it efficiently. Where's the major media market so you can make sure the cameras are there? And it's about hitting the media as opposed to a specific riding. But what are your thoughts on the Conservatives not really zeroing in on what everyone kind of thinks is, I know the lower mainland of BC matters, but it is everything around Toronto.
Welcome to Oxio, the place where you can search.
All right there. Sorry about that, Kits and Cubs. They don't give you much warning when they're coming. So in those last little segments there, Kits and Cubs, there were some interesting notes. You will note that in the early voting, the electoral district out of all of them in which the most people have decided to vote early was Carleton. 43,000 votes already in those 4 days in Carleton. That's Pierre Poilievre's riding. There seems to be a lot of activity and a lot of buzz. So if people are so anxious to vote in that riding in particular, maybe something's up. Maybe that's why the last rally of the campaign is in Carleton. After what you just heard Bob Fife say, that if you're campaigning in your own home ridings, well, that means you're trying to save the furniture. And Bob Fife said that before he found out that Pierre Poilievre was going to hold his final rally in Carleton. For Kit Hugh, you might be very happy to learn that when it comes to helping his colleagues like Michelle Ferreri, well, for all intents and purposes, Pierre Poilievre is like, sorry, Michelle. Hand on the forehead. Sorry. Can't help you. Got to save myself. Bye. So, Kit Hugh, you may get your wish. You may get your wish. So I put that clip. I made sure that was included in the clip just for you, my friend. And then, of course, talking about Saskatchewan, which is true, does own all the seats over there. Now, there has been a seat in the north through redistricting, drawing the lines, 4343. That probably will be a Liberal seat in northern Saskatchewan. There is some fear that 2 or 3 seats in the Regina area, Regina-Wascana being one of them, might flip as well. So that might be another reason that they are going. But yes, in one way, they haven't been there yet, so they should tick off the box. But the question there is, why haven't they been there yet? Right? It's Saskatchewan, and there were some down days on the campaign where they could have organized an event over there. Why save? Make sure that there's a place you have not been to yet and save it for the last few days so that you could tick it off the box to say you've been there. Especially when you already own all the seats there. That's a very strange decision. Unless there might be another reason. And Kits and Cubs, let's see if that could indeed be the case. So picking up where we left off prior to the break.
I mean, BC is also, a battleground, and for the Conservatives, this campaign might be a battle of inches in some ridings, and so every riding that they can maintain or maybe try and pick up, especially from the NDP, there's some contests in BC typically that are NDP Conservative battles. I'm wondering if this decision isn't about that they're worried about Saskatchewan or Calgary per se, although there are certainly seats at risk to the Liberals in both of those cities right now. I wonder if he needs to go in and show that momentum. They were using these rallies for this entire campaign to show that they could bring out the crowds, and he needs that as to energize them for the last few days of this campaign. I mean, no doubt they will have a big crowd in Saskatoon. They will get a big crowd in Calgary, and I wonder if that is part of what is driving that decision, is that going into that final day, they can still show, look, we still can bring out the people, so don't worry, we're not out of this.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you saved Saskatchewan till the end. Not because you haven't been there yet, but because, well, you need to have one last go at don't believe the polls by having a big, big, big rally, and where are you guaranteed to get a lot of people to come? Saskatchewan, where you own all the seats. Maybe that's it. Again, we keep on saying Pierre is very cinematic. He loves that visual. Nice big full crowd. As we mentioned yesterday on the news there, on a clip that we showed, he tried to have one in some place, and they rented an arena big enough for 7,500, but only about 2,500 showed up. Could have been because of the Leafs game. We don't know. But didn't get the crowds he thought he was. And early on in the campaign, that 12 to 15,000 crowd in Edmonton really ended up being something like 1,700. More size queen fun with numbers. Yeah, doesn't look great. All right, now here are Kits and Cubs in the same conversation, but a little later on. Rob Fife and Mia Rabson basically take the beaver to church. You know that Kits and Cubs, I have a couple of biases, and I've actually had to make a point of saying them at some point during the campaign, because at one point I was getting a little upset and trying to explain why it is I was upset. And as you know, for me, particularly with the mandate that we have given ourselves with this show to try and bring a little bit more media literacy, civics literacy, political literacy, financial literacy, all that type of stuff, but to arm you with the tools that you need so that you can listen to these things on your own and say, that's BS. Oh, that might be true. That's a fair point. Oh, I see you're trying to appeal to my emotion here. No, there's a logical fallacy here. Nope, correlation's not causation here. So that you can sift through the BS, right? And really form your own opinion. And not only on the content of what they're saying, right? But how many times are they trying to torque or twist or whatnot to try to make a narrative fit? How many times are they trying to pull a fast one on you? Because that goes to character, right? And if they're doing it while they're campaigning, they're going to imagine what they're going to do when they're governing. So this is what we try to do. And we have a big problem, a huge problem that gets me particularly upset with people and particular politicians who do everything that they do to interfere with your right to cast a fully informed vote. So, for example, when they don't show up at debates, it bothers me like you don't believe. When they're not allowing the media on the plane, that bothers me like you not believe. Right? So here, Bob Fife and Mia Rabson are actually calling this out big time. I am to hear these people say it and say it in a tribune that has an audience as wide in terms of politically engaged voters as does CBC's Power in Politics just made my little beaver heart so happy because we don't hear this often enough. Often we hear, oh, well, that's a smart strategy. Yes, it's a smart strategy for you if you're thinking about just you. But if you're thinking about us, the voter, for who this is supposed to be about, it's a terrible strategy. It deprives us of something that we need and that we're entitled to, that we pay for. Right? So, and if you're not, if you're afraid to take a little scrutiny, if you're afraid to put your ideas up against those who you're running against one-on-one, face-to-face, side-by-side, you shouldn't be running. This is not the job for you. So seeing this makes me happy. Now, just a little warning, there's a technical thing on the copy that will have a little blip when Robert Fife is speaking at first. That's from the source material, not us, but it lasts a very short amount of time, and then everything, and it's right at the beginning, and then everything carries on as normal. All right, so let's bring that up to you. And again, Kits and Cubs, I will watch for ads in case.
Because we've got 3 journalists here, we want to show you what happened with one of our colleagues today in Halifax. This is Abigail Beeman, used to work at Global, now works with CTV, trying to get a comment from former Conservative Party President Rob Batherson, someone who's appeared on this show many times over the years, was a former communications director to former Premier John Hamm of Nova Scotia, a guy who knows the media world and the media game. Look at what happened.
Sorry, guys, we are just going to hold today.
Mr. Batherson, don't push me, Riley.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Batherson, can we chat with you for a minute? Mr. Batherson?
Thank you very much.
Are you gesturing to us or to the party? Can we ask you a couple questions, Mr. Batherson, about the race in the Atlantic? Mr. Batherson, do you have any comments on Trump's new comments about Canada's sovereignty? Please don't push me, Riley. Please don't. You're literally pushing me. Please don't push me. Please don't push me. Mr. Batherson, do you have a minute for the cameras, please? Mr. Batherson, do you have any comments on Trump's new comments about Canada's sovereignty or the new auto threat since we're standing in a car dealership?
Sorry, that's a little bit of what went on at a campaign stop in, I believe, Halifax. It was, and again, we have a journalist who's trying to do her job, right, as she should, asking legitimate questions, not loaded style rebel questions, but actual legitimate questions. Trying to get an answer, and this person who's working for the campaign, who goes by Riley, is not so much providing security as he is being a linebacker and preventing her from doing the job, and again, preventing her from asking the questions on our behalf that we are asking in order to get answers for us, because again, it's supposed to be about us, our right to cast a fully informed vote, not about the candidate's right to be elected or to occupy that seat. Some people have their entitlements misaligned here. So let's see how impressed Mr. Fife and Miss Rapson were with this.
Bob, I want to start with you if I can. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? If you don't want to answer questions, that's fine. You can walk away and do your things. Whoever Riley is, I don't know who Riley is, kind of deliberately getting in the way, you know, making contact with the reporter a couple of times to the point that Abigail had to say, don't push me. I mean, we saw similar things in Newfoundland when they were in Petty Harbor. I mean, what do you make of this?
Well, these are not isolated incidents. Our own report.
Mr. Batherson.
Oh.
Experiences. In fact, I was getting phone calls from the last couple of days. Just the way they were treated, they're put into these basically cages, and they're not allowed to go out and talk to the people who are showing up at rallies. And they always have a minder there to make sure that they're not allowed out. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact of the matter is that that the people in these rallies are quite fine to talk to reporters. There's not a problem with that. It's the controlling tactics of Mr. Poilievre and his team. And let's remember Jenny Byrne, who's the campaign manager, when they refused to let we're not going to let reporters have on a campaign plane. This was going to be the most transparent election in Canadian history. Well, it is with the other parties, but it certainly isn't with the Conservatives.
Well, yeah, I mean, this looks pretty transparent, but I don't think it's transparency. I mean, it feels to me that this doesn't help a campaign. Because you just don't get the fuller coverage of their candidates. You don't get the fuller coverage of their platform, their ideas.
Well, it's anti-democratic as well. Let's face it. Election campaigns are an opportunity to test the leadership, to talk to people who show up at these rallies. What are their concerns? Our job as reporters is to talk to all these people and reflect that in our reporting. And they simply do not want that. They want to control the message so much that it just seems so self-defeating.
Yeah, Mia, what do you think on this?
So just a little stop there to notice that Bob Fife could not wait to jump in to say that this was undemocratic. Let's keep going.
Interesting, like no debates, very few interviews, though I did notice some of the candidates back in my home province, they did CBC debates, which I don't know if Central Campaign knew about that, but they happened. Your thoughts?
I mean, it's not new that Conservative candidates are not doing debates. We've seen this in multiple elections before, and clearly there's some message to them that they shouldn't do it. But that's not just taking it away from journalists being able to write about it. That's also taking it away from voters who might attend or watch some of those debates and get a chance to see the candidates side by side, hear what they have to say about local issues, hear from their local candidate. This campaign, and maybe not just from the Conservatives as well, this campaign is so much about the leaders and who is leading these parties. It's not even about the teams that might form around them in a cabinet. It is so much about Mr. Carney and Mr. Poilievre and what their vision is and what they will say about things. And that's really a disservice to voters and to MPs or the people running to be MPs.
Well, Mia, on that point, you can't punch through, right? You can't punch through, as a local candidate if you're not allowed to actually do earned media and talk to people and display yourself as anything other than a backdrop for the leader.
Well, and do you really want to be the line in a story that says the Conservative candidate couldn't be reached for comment, the Conservative candidate didn't attend a debate? That's not really the line that they should be wanting in these stories. But if that's the line they would prefer over trusting that their candidates could actually answer questions with intelligence, that doesn't suggest they have confidence in their candidates, and that's not a good message to send either.
Cats and Cubs, is this or is this not what I have been saying to you for the past while? You can't do this. You shouldn't be doing this. This is terrible. It doesn't serve you. It's self-defeating. And it's completely anti-democratic. It is just so nice to see some veterans from the industry actually saying it, because almost every time this happens, nobody says it. They either praise it as clever strategy or whatnot. But I believe that Pierre Poilievre and Jenny Byrne, or PP Byrne, their strategy on media has been so corrosive and so ham-fisted that it's gotten jaded journalists like Bob Fife to turn around and all of a sudden start waxing poetic about principles such as democracy and the right to know. Not only for journalists, but for us. I love it when they take me to church. And then Mr. Fife, who was in rare form yesterday, had even a little more to add at the end of it with regard to the media and our right to know. So again, I'm just trying to cue it up for you, because if it sounds like I'm stretching, I am. Just working through a couple of ads there. All right, kids and cubs, Let's see how Bob Fife, the knife, decides to end this section. Again, bringing us to church. So there you go. Sorry, I thought Bob Fife had more to say, but it was sorry, I misnoted it. It was Mia Rapson. Absolutely agree 100% with absolutely everything that she said there. Just if you're not willing to do that, you are in the wrong business. And I just noticed that unfortunately the image of that clip did not show. It was just the audio. So sorry for that, kids and cubs. Um, the image did not go through there on that one for those who are watching live. But still, the audio was there. No, hopefully, you got the gist of it. So yeah, um, I love it when they take me to church on that. When they start talking about your right, your right to know and your right to vote and all that kind of stuff, and cast a fully informed vote, and that you shouldn't be getting in the way of your right to get the information you need to perform your civic duty. It's your civic duty. You should have that information, and nobody should be trying to keep that from you. So things are not going well for Pierre, right? He's being he's got these negative stories in the press that are not helping him in any way, shape, or form. Um, he has to campaign harder in his own writing. He has to. He's going to be asked questions about that all the way through. His math doesn't math on his platform, and he seems to be retreating ever more to his safe rhetorical devices and going into his safe spaces, planning a big event for Saskatoon, then his final rally in his home riding. That's not somebody who's on offense. That's not somebody who's on offense. And that makes me wonder whether or not they're actually this tightening in the polls that we've been seeing, this narrowing, is it truly manifesting as the conservatives see it, or or as we're seeing it here, or as we think it does, or is it not? Are the conservatives seeing something else? Because they seem to be running very, very, very scared. Right? If you're looking at the liberals in terms of where they've been when they did their Atlantic swing, I think I mentioned yesterday they stopped in Colchester, which is a place that they will. They're trying. I believe that's a seat that they are trying to flip, actually, and they are definitely in the GTA trying to flip more of that blue around there. Wouldn't surprise me to see them in southern Ontario at some part. Maybe another stop in BC along the way, because British Columbia is another battleground. Maybe if they have time, some time in Quebec on the north and south shores of Montreal a little bit more. There might be some stuff there. But you can see that the liberals are actually going on offense, and they're going on offense not only against the conservatives, but against the New Democrats as well. This week, pretty much, not pretty much everywhere, but many of the places that Jagmeet Singh has been, the liberals have then come in right after. So Jagmeet Singh was on in the Vancouver Island area, and he left, and then Mark Carney was there trying to make sure that the people there, their final impression was one of him and not of Jagmeet. And then Mr. Singh went to Winnipeg, and as soon as his wheels were up from Winnipeg to go to the next spot, Mr. Carney was landing there. So, because out west, right, the big centers, Winnipeg, Regina, Edmonton, Calgary, Liberals are looking to try to pick up a few seats. Liberals currently have only 2 seats in Calgary, and they are looking at a potential of 5 to 7 at the moment. That they're pretty that they're throwing a lot of time and resources in, at least to try and see if they can flip them, because maybe on a good night they can get all of them with proper vote splits, or maybe if 2 or 3% of the conservative vote decides to remain on the couch because they're losing anyway. All the reasons, right? They're hoping that they can flip a few more, and there's some in the Winnipeg area as well. So there are a lot of interesting battlegrounds, but before the time is up, when it comes to Mr. Singh, again, probably will be campaigning a lot in British Columbia because that's where the most of the seats are. But like I said the other day, we showed a clip when he was in Edmonton. He had Blake Desjardins and Heather McPherson, who are the 2 NDP seats in the Edmonton area currently. So trying to make sure that those incumbents are well shored up so that they can try to maintain their seats. All right, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Bloc. Where they're campaigning in this particular clip, Kits and Cubs, because, again, as we mentioned, the story came out that Mr. Carney did not reveal absolutely everything that took place on that phone call with Mr. Trump. Now, there was one phone call with Mr. Trump that we know of, or that has been made public. And after that call, Mr. Carney told us that Trump had been respectful towards Canada and our sovereignty throughout all of it. Now, apparently, there is somehow something leaked that there was talk on the part of Mr. Trump on that call about 51st State, that he didn't mention it. Everybody's looking, and then with that, I shouldn't say everybody, but the Conservatives are trying to turn this into this big scandal. So are the New Democrats, so are the Bloc Québécois. And it all goes to trust, and he wasn't honest, and all that type of stuff. Well, I think we've all been around the block long enough to know that there's also diplomacy, and that when we get readouts from phone calls, we don't get everything, right? Often when we had a frank discussion, that maybe means that there might have been some yelling or shouting, or a couple of "look here, pals" in there, right? So it wasn't all about, well, hey, let me just put all my cards on the table and be abundantly clear here, right? It's frank and candid, usually means that there might have been a little bit of heat there. So they are trying to spin this as being a terrible, terrible thing. Carney's not honest. He's duplicitous, right? You can take that how you want. I'm personally not surprised that this would indeed be the case. I can definitely see a scenario where it's like, pick up the phone, they start talking, and it's like, it's like, congratulations on winning, Mr. Carney, like this, can't wait to talk to you, can't wait to be getting to talk more about you and all this kind of stuff, like this. I really think that Canada would be great as our 51st state. And then Mr. Carney turn around and say, yeah, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one, or we won't be talking about that today. We're talking about this. And then from that point on the conversation, it was yes, Prime Minister, and yes, the government of Canada. So it could be just as simple as that it was mentioned, right? The point is that when the conversation took place, according to Mark Carney, and there doesn't seem to be any leak that says anything different, the President of the United States did not refer to Mark Carney as governor, and all communications after had no mention of the 51st state. And in fact, Donald Trump has been remarkably quiet throughout the campaign with stuff regards to Canada, only answering when asked directly. So when he mentioned it the other time around is when he was doing his tariffs thing, and somebody mentioned, "Oh well, Canada's not on that. Does that mean things are better with Canada?" And they said, "No, no, no, no. We're still going to be tariffing Canada." And then I think it was a BBC journalist that asked this time around, says, "Well, Canada's about to have an election. Do you have any thoughts about that?" And then, well, I think it would be good as a 51st state. So Trump himself reverting back to his rhetorical safety blankets, because again, it's not like Trump isn't in trouble back home too, and needs some things to divert and distract from. So it's always a good time to trot out his favorite punching bag, and mentioned that there might be more auto tariffs other than that 25% that's there coming soon or something, right? Just to keep people on their toes, make some news, whatnot. But didn't really say anything different than he normally says, and in the normal ways that he says it. Which leads credence to what Mr. Carney has to say about it. And again, the clip that we have here is literally said, Trump says a lot of things, which is something we've said on the show again before, right? Trump said, yeah, well, Trump says a lot of things. So we're going to take a look at what Mr. Carney had to say in response to being questioned about this, and how he says it's going down, and whether or not he believes there is an inconsistency or a big lie in between the version he told us and what everybody else has told us. And then we might have a chance to take a look at, within this clip, at some reaction from the other opposition leaders. And again, pay attention to the particular level of melodrama involved this time around. You could tell we're getting to the finish line here, and a lot of people are trying to take whatever's coming their way and trying to make it work for them in some way, shape, or form. All right, some cabs. Let's make sure that you have the visual this time. Yes, you do. Here we go.
But we start this hour with Liberal leader Mark Carney pushing back today against Donald Trump's latest threats. Yesterday, the U.S. president suggested auto tariffs on Canadian vehicles could go even higher, and that he doesn't want Canadian-made cars at all.
This is Canada. We decide what happens here. Yesterday was more proof, as if any were needed, that the old relationship with the United States is over.
Now, at the same time, we're learning more about last month's phone call between Mark Carney and the U.S. president. Karina Roman has more from Ottawa, starting with a reaction to Trump's latest threats and how that is shaping the final days of the campaign.
Well, let's be honest, Sarah, Trump had been relatively quiet when it comes to Canada just of late. And some say, coincidentally, the polls in Canada had narrowed, the national polls, as other issues started to take more airtime than the threat of Trump. So when Trump brought this up again, the whole auto tariffs and possibly increasing them, the 51st state stuff, and got vocal about that again. Certainly many people thought this might benefit Mark Carney and the Liberals in the last stretch of the campaign, because for them, the ballot box question that they would like to be on people's minds when they go to vote is Donald Trump and the threats he's making Canada face, and who is best to deal with Donald Trump in that kind of situation. So, not surprisingly, Mark Carney brought Donald Trump's latest comments up at his rally last night, and then again at his speech today. But
New information about the phone call that happened between Mark Carney and Donald Trump about a month ago on March 28th has made things a little bit less straightforward. After that call happened, Carney was asked, of course, about that call and whether or not Donald Trump showed respect to Canada. And he said, yes, he did, both privately and publicly, which left the impression to some people that the whole 51st state stuff hadn't come up, but it did come up. Donald Trump did bring that up in the call, we are learning, and Mark Carney has confirmed. But Carney doesn't equate that to a lack of respect. He says that he told Trump it's not going to happen, and that what's more important is the results of the call, which is that there's an agreement to have a negotiation between two sovereign countries after the election. Have a listen to a little bit more of what Carney had to say.
You said that President Trump respected Canada's sovereignty, both privately and in his public conversations.
He did.
Were you being truthful?
He absolutely did. He absolutely did. Look, the president has certain things in his mind that he reverts back to all the time. But treated me as the prime minister, not as something else. I'm not even going to say the word he used to use about my predecessor. Treated me as the prime minister. We had discussions as sovereign nations. We agreed as sovereign nations that these negotiations will begin after the election on Monday. And that is how it was reported back, and that's absolutely accurate.
All right. Kids and Cubs, sorry, another ad that just decided to pop itself in there. So, for Mr. Carney, as far as he's concerned, Trump says a lot of things, has his safety blankets, goes back to it, yada, yada, yada. But when it comes to our interaction, because he referred to me as the prime minister in our interactions after, has always said Canada, has stopped saying 51st state, all that kind of stuff, particularly in his communications after the meeting, specifically. In fact, you'll remember we showed you the thing from Donald Trump, and our reaction was, who are you and what did you do with Donald Trump? In fact, Mark Carney may have been too successful at doing this because the whole plan was to ride the Trump thing. And somewhere mid-campaign, because Donald Trump had been so quiet, we had to start talking about other stuff, affordability issues and other types of things. And that's where the Conservatives started getting that narrowing of the gap a little bit, because as we told you, when it comes to public opinion polling, on who's best to handle Trump and defend sovereignty, Mark Carney was leading, but for some reason, Pierre Poilievre was still leading on just genuine general affordability issues. Of course, he's been hammering those messages for the past 2.5 years or so, pretty much on a daily basis. So he's kind of developed that reputation. But right, I kind of forgot where I was going with that. I wanted to finish that one nicely, but you see those details there, and that's where they're sort of lining up. So let's continue here with Karina Roman with regard to Carney's comment and how for him it is consistent, and where the other leaders are choosing to interpret these comments and the situation, of course, for partisan advantage. Whoops. Would maybe help if I turned on the volume there. All right. So, sorry. Let's do that. There we go.
Now, many have pointed out that the tone of Donald Trump after that call did seem more tempered and more moderate and less open. Well, he didn't even mention the 51st state when he talked about the call that he had with Mark Carney. And Mark Carney has pointed out today that the question is that if the important thing is negotiations after the election, who do you want at that table? Who do you want responsible for building Canada up so it can be in a strong position to negotiate? For the Liberals, that is what they would like the ballot box question to be, because they argue that Mark Carney is the right person for that job.
Right, so that's what Mark Carney has to say about it. But what are the other leaders on the campaign trail saying?
Well, interestingly, Pierre Poilievre didn't grab onto this story the way you might think an opposition leader would. And that's because really the Conservatives don't want Donald Trump on the ballot or anywhere near the ballot. That's not what they want the question to be about. They want it to be about change and about affordability. And so when asked the question, when Pierre Poilievre was asked the question about what he thinks about this revelation, if you want to call it, about the phone call, he really quickly pivoted to wanting to talk about the economic record of the previous Liberal government. So have a listen to what he had to say.
Well, that's a question for Mr. Carney to answer. I wasn't there. But what's clear is we will stand up for our sovereignty. We will never be an American state. And we will focus on what we can control, which is to reverse the disastrous Liberal economic policies that Mark Carney advised Justin Trudeau to take, which have driven up the cost of living and driven our jobs south.
Now, a bit different from NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, who certainly does not mind talking about Donald Trump and has often brought him up and talked about how the NDP would deal with a Donald Trump presidency and administration. But he was very pointed in how he sees it, which is that he says that Mark Carney misled Canadians. Have a listen.
He was not being straight up, and now Canadians have a lot of questions. If he's not going to tell us exactly what went down and say one thing and kind of the opposite happened, he said that Donald Trump respected our sovereignty, and instead now it's being reported that Donald Trump in fact repeated the threats of the 51st state. So Canadians are wondering, well, what else is going to happen? If he's not going to tell us about a phone call, what about the details of the negotiation? And what about what he's willing to trade away?
Now, the Bloc Québécois leader, Yves-François Blanchet, also very pointed and sharp in his criticisms today, and making the argument that this is another example about why voters, especially voters in Quebec, should not trust Mark Carney with the defense of Quebec's interests when it comes to dealing with Donald Trump. Have a listen.
There was no agreement, no support for Canada's sovereignty, no beginning for a deal, just the show of a man who wanted to pretend something which appears today not to be true. I believe many people in Canada and in Quebec will say, what the hell is that? And if that is not true, what else is not true?
All right. So, kids and cubs, as you can see, that was a yet another example of the Blanchet strategy going in, and has been for the entire campaign, to be dismissively. The word in French is désobligeant. Can't think of the word in English, but just dismissively castrating. Right in the debate. You say that you're this great economic manager, but I've not seen evidence of that yet. Oh, it was one call with Trump during the 9 days he was prime minister. No deal, no this, no that, and everything is the opposite as it seems. And what else could he not? Right? He says he makes these big things happen, but there's really never anything there. That's his whole thing. He's been on a campaign of that nonstop. He's not as good as he says he is. He's just blowing sunshine up your butt. Look, what has he accomplished, really? Look, he had 9 full days as prime minister, didn't get a deal. Pfft. He's useless. He had one phone call with Trump. He made it seem like he had it all solved. So none of that actually happened. Blanchet's just making it up. He's lying. He's torquing and twisting. And Blanchet could do in trouble. Because he's campaigning in seats, in areas, seats that the Bloc already has. Even in Quebec, he's trying to save the furniture. So he's just 24/7 in Quebec only, trying to paint the picture of Mark Carney as being somebody that you can't trust, that talks a big game but never delivers. That's why you got to vote for me, Eve, because I deliver. I'm the only one who can speak for Quebec. It's a very nasty campaign, and you would expect better from me, François Blanchette, but his job's up too. So, yeah, these are disappointing takes from the opposition leaders. Jagmeet Singh here as well, right? Donald Trump repeated the threats of the 51st state. Jagmeet Singh doesn't know that. He wasn't in on the call. He doesn't know if it's like repeated the threats of the 51st state is I'm going to break you, so like we can annex you and take our stuff. It's like, hey, Carney. Trump does that. If Trump on the first move on the phone call to try to assert that dominance thing that he always does. Hey, hello there. I would sure. So glad that you're here to help us discuss the 51st state thing. No, that's not going to happen. Oh, okay. It literally could have been that. Jagmeet Singh doesn't know. Doesn't know if it's a threat. Doesn't know. But painting it as a threat. He didn't tell us everything that was on the call. But Jagmeet Singh, do you tell us everything that's on your calls? Politicians always hold something back. It's not like they have a call and they said, and then he said, and then I said, and then he said, and then I said, and then he said. Right? It's not a preteen phone tree or something. It's a readout. There's diplomacy. Like, what purpose would Carney needs the Trump narrative in. That helps him. So rather than Mark Carney could have come to the phone and said, yeah, he started with that 51st state, but I put him in his place. And it's like, no. The president was respectful of our sovereignty and of my title during the conversation and after. That's really all you need. What was the result? What was the overall tone and vibe? So, again, they're trying to milk this. And from what I can tell, based on what I've been looking at, most everybody who knows what they're talking about this is considering this to be a nothing burger for all intents and purposes. Even had John Ibbotson, right, columnist, well, now retired columnist from the Globe and Mail, but noted liberal supporter John Ibbotson turned around and said, "Yeah, this is a nothing burger." I do have a little bit of a clip of that here at Kits and Cubs of the same, I think, or panel going around the table, doing around the table on this particular issue and giving their assessment. On this panel, we have, I believe, Andrew Thompson, who used to be the finance minister in Saskatchewan. We have Sachi Curl from Angus Reid. We have James Moore from a former MP for the Conservative Party of Canada. And we have a gentleman whose name I can't remember, sorry, but who's for the Liberal spokesperson. I will try to note his name during the interview so I can give him proper credit. But if we take a minute to listen to this portion here, we'll see what people from all over the political spectrum, all four sides, have to say about whether or not this is whether this is as big a deal as the three leaders of the opposition parties want us to believe that it is. All right. Let's see. Make sure that everything's aligned there. No, we do not have an image. So let's get you an image. There you go. That should work now. Yes, it is. Okay. Guys, enjoy.
51st state comments when he briefed people on his phone call with Donald Trump. He said at the end, they respected sovereignty. He's being accused of lying today. Is it a lie? Well, how do you square this today?
I think this is much ado about nothing, to be quite honest. I mean, if anything, it was in Carney's advantage back in that point in the campaign to spin up the threat. This was his big card, is that, Poilievre was too Trumpy, that he was the one who had the maturity to deal with it. I think it still plays into that. The fact that he is nuancing this, the fact that he, was looking for the way to manage it, I think does show a certain degree of political maturity. And I think that is, in a lot of ways, what he's built his campaign around and what the Liberals are saying they're pitching to the voters.
James, how do you see this one today?
Same way. I heard the story and I found it a bit of a struggle. I mean, one can say that there was an omission there that provided a little less clarity about the phone call. But as I've said in this show before, Donald Trump has a tendency, I think, his sentences, subject, predicate, adjective, noun, his sentences fall apart in mid-flight. So you kind of don't know, but he's made the threat and he's made the to him joke about us being a 51st state many times. And he said it overtly and clearly again yesterday, that he seems to actually think that he can just sort of gobble up pieces of the world and call them states and just kind of sort of govern over them as he chooses. If anything, if Mark Carney said that he had this conversation with Donald Trump right before the campaign started, and then he came out of it and he said, I just had a phone call with Donald Trump. He said he wants us to be the 51st state. That's why I need to be the prime minister. I need a clear majority. That would have been rightly criticized as exploiting a private conversation with the president for political gain. That's not what happened here. So omission is one thing, but exploitative or being dishonest is not what happened here.
Yeah, Shachi, how do you see it? Because it seems to me, listening to Mark Carney, and I don't know, I wasn't on the call, I'm not in that signal group. It seems like they could have started talking about the 51st state, and then by the end of it, agreed to where they ended up. You know what I mean? How do you view what happened here?
Yeah, so to an extent, in the same way James and Andrew were pointing out, there are sins of omission and sins of commission. On this one, I would say that, you're always damned when you get caught editing conversations. Think of conversations between your colleagues, between yourself and your spouse, or in this case, the prime minister and the rest of the country. There's always discussions and judgments and thoughts in your head around how much do I say? How is that going to play? How is that going to play? The challenge, I think, for Carney here is he's now finding himself in a situation where it's like, well, why didn't you tell the whole story? Well, if I'd told the whole story, then it would have come out that I was maybe being accused of trying to play politics, but now he's having to deal with it in a different way. Does any of this matter 4 days before an election? No, none of it matters 4 days before an election, but I do think it's one of those things that we should probably watch in the future, just around the ways that Mark Carney, should he prevail on Monday, communicates to the rest of the country.
Okay, Cameron, close the loop on this one for us. What are your thoughts? And we'll move on to something else Mark Carney said today.
As James and Andrew have said, I also think it doesn't really matter. Whether he said it in the call or not, first of all, is kind of irrelevant, because he has said this publicly so many times, as recently as this week. So nobody is under any illusions that he doesn't believe this or doesn't really think it. And two, in these phone calls, leader to leader phone calls across the board, you don't always disclose everything that's said. There are reasons to be very specific about what you say happen in those calls. I think all it does is just remind everybody about what the stakes are in this election, and that this election is really all about our relations with the United States and which candidate can best stand up for Canada. And I think just talking about this and having it be back in the news is in Mark Carney's benefit.
Okay, I just want to note that on day 33 of this election campaign, complete unanimity on what is the discourse on whether something is important or not.
Right, kids and cubs. So, yeah, nobody seems to think that this is a big deal at all. So, not sure what Jagmeet Singh and Blanchette are doing, and you'll notice as the journalist who was reporting it mentioned, Pierre couldn't pivot away fast enough because he doesn't want to talk about Trump at all in any way, shape, or form. Doesn't want him to be the topic. So I wasn't at the meeting. I don't know. Such leadership. You must be in awe. All right, kids and cubs. That is pretty much what I got for you today. So that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. It makes us so happy. Now, kits and cubs, if you would like to make sure that you do not miss an episode, because let's say you're on the go because you're very, very, very busy making things happen, networking, and doing social goods, while of course, being a contributing member of society. Well, then you might need to take us on the go, and you can do that thanks to the Ray Girl who sponsors our pod page, podpage.com/the true north eager beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. Or if you scan the QR code that just appeared, it'll bring you right there. And you go there and click subscribe. Boom. The ears only version of our podcast comes directly to your podcast feed. You don't have to go looking for it. When we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. No fuss, no muss. So, hey, we're portable. Take us with you. We like to keep you company. All right. Now, if you would like to help us in other ways, kits and cubs, you can do that by maybe taking a tip from my kits Elaine and Cassie and grabbing your surfboard and surfing on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. And hey, while you're there, get frisky and smash with our buttons. Like, share, and subscribe. They're waiting for you. You can smash with all three at the same time if you like. We don't judge. We don't. We are smash friendly here. It helps us with the algorithm. So thank you so very much when you do that. We very much appreciate it. And kids and cubs, if you would like to help us in other ways, because, well, as you know, we do incur some costs to bring this show to you, internet subscriptions to media, services for audio and that type of stuff. And if you would like to help us with that because you like what we do and you would like to encourage us to do more, and you found our election coverage to be helpful to you in keeping track of what's going on and making your final decision, well, we would appreciate some support in the form of a contribution to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund. That's also known as our tip jar. If you scan the QR code that just appeared at the top of the screen there, or go to coffee, that's spelled coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, and leave us a little expression of your encouragement, we would definitely be grateful to receive it. So if you think that I've been a particularly good beaver, how about buying me a mug of hot chocolate and saying, "Atta beaver, well done." And if you think Mr. Grizzly's been doing a good job at the production controls and bringing some interesting content and color, then please, kids and cubs, offer him a cup of coffee or even a Guinness. That'll make him very, very happy. So coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver. That's where you can make your donation. We appreciate it very much. Now, if you're not able to donate, please, we know times are tough and the people are maybe keeping their powder dry because they don't know what's to come. The gift of your attention and the gift of your participation mean the most to us. And we are so grateful that you make time for us. We want to hear from you. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. Please do write to us. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you have to say. If you like our show, if you have some suggestions for guests, there are things that we could do better. Also, some of you have asked for a Q&A show. So if you would like that, send us your questions, because without any questions, we can't provide any answers. Let us know what you would like to know about politics, what you would like to have our take on. And if there's anything about the behind the scenes on how we put this show together that you would like to know, all of it is really, really good and appreciated and will help us to put these things, put these things on for you. That was the scientific technical term. But make these products and produce this content for you that you would like. So truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. If you would also like to send us a donation directly because you want to buy Canadian and you are a very concerned and alert consumer, you can do so by dealing just with your bank and directly with us, avoiding the American CE Tech Bros by sending us a transfer at truenortheagerbeaver at gmail.com. We get 100% of your donation as well. So it's completely Canadian, and we get all that you wanted to give to us. So it's win-win-win, right? All right. Now, if you would like to communicate with us in other ways, kits and cubs, on our socials, True Eager is where you can find us at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge and on the Jitter. True North Eager Beaver, our original home on Facebook, or right here on YouTube if you're listening with the Damn Fam or after in the comments section. Just let us know what you think. We read absolutely everything, even though we're not able to get back to everyone. And everything that you tell us does go back into the show to make it better. So we really appreciate your contributions. Because democracy is something that you do remember, there is a Quebec Liberal leadership race going on, and those results will be in June. So I expect that there's still time to get your ballots and make sure that they're in and find out more about the candidates in Manitoba on the 26th. So that would be tomorrow. We will find out who the new leader of the Progressive Conservative Party is. So stay tuned for that. And of course, on Monday, that's voting day here in the federal election. So again, at the last minute, if you can do some phone banking or some door knocking for the candidate that you support. If you haven't researched your candidates fully yet, and there's a couple other things that you need to know, this would be the time to do it. Plan your vote. Tell everybody around you that you're planning to vote, that you're excited to vote. Ask them if they're planning to vote. If they're not, say, why not? Right? Get some people to come with you to the polls. Don't let your friends do democracy alone. Right? Make a day of it. Go for some ice cream after. Go for some coffee. Have a chat. Have some social time. Right? It's always a good day. It's always a good day to vote. It's always a good day to vote. All right. My words of wisdom, kits and cubs. Try to be calm. I know a lot of us are very much invested in the narrowing of the polls, has us a little nervous. But let's try to be calm and try to adopt the posture that we only will have to worry about something if the result doesn't go our way, once we know we have something to worry about. So enjoy these last few days of sanity as best you can. And hopefully after voting day on Monday, there will still be some sanity. Right? Not sure if I'm going to be doing anything over the course of the weekend. I might, if there's lots of news going into Monday, just in the final rush. But if not, we'll have our Monday show as usual. And then on Monday night, of course, join us. I think probably we'll start around 6:30 p.m. or 7. We'll firm that up for our elections live Beaver Nights result show, where we're going to have a whole bunch of guests. Josh Miranda, who we interviewed the other day, has also said that he would drop by. And like I said, we have some feelers out to get a couple of other guests. So we're trying to make this an alternative to what the networks are offering that might be a little more fun and lighthearted with some friends that you've gotten to know here at the Beaver Lodge over the last little while. All right. So please join us for that. I guess that's everything I've got right now. So kits and cubs, I am going to have to say to myself, given that Mr. Grizzly is not here right now, Mr. Beaver, if you would please, cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs, before we're off for the weekend, a couple of little notes for you. Unfortunately, we got the news for those of you who live in Ontario, but even if you live outside Ontario, because the show is accessible via YouTube, the current affairs show, The Agenda with Steve Paikin on TV Ontario, is coming to an end after 19 seasons. It's some of the best current affairs television in Canada, actually. So yes, Steve Paikin, who moderated the English language debate, said that he wants to enter a new phase of his career with the public broadcaster. He will stay on as with TVO as the co-host of the weekly political podcast #OnPolly that he does with John Michael McGrath, and will continue to write a column on the broadcaster's website. TVO also says he'll host public engagements, but we do not. The agenda will not continue as the agenda. Replacing the agenda in its time slot will be a show called The Rundown. It's a new show that TVO says will feature original journalism and in-depth analysis exploring social, political, cultural, and economic issues that impact Ontarians, and it will launch this fall. So yeah, basically Paikin says that hosting the agenda is a job that requires working every day of the week, and he realized he wanted to tackle other items on his life's to-do list. Quote, I'm grateful to everyone who worked on or was part of the agenda for the last 19 seasons. It has truly been an honor, and I'm looking forward to what's coming next. And Paikin is a recipient, of course, of the Order of Canada. Received his in 2015. So, yeah, sad that this great show is coming to an end. It is absolutely fantastic, but hopefully the rundown, which will replace it come this fall, will be interesting and innovative and bring some new voices and to the forefront, because Mr. Paikin is not going away. Just he'll still be present, and we'll still have the benefit of his wisdom. But of course, we're going to make room for some new ideas and some new perspectives as well, which is not necessarily a bad thing. In the Canadians Who Make Us Proud segment of the show for today, Kids and Cubs, as we go, we're going to talk a little bit about our tennis players. Bianca Andreescu, who is back to the courts. I think last week was her first match back in Rouen, and she lost. This week, has won her first match on clay in Madrid, beating somebody whose last name is Kessler. Can't remember the first name off the top of my head, but ranked in the top 50. So Bianca Andreescu taking out somebody in the top 50 in the world, only in her second match back. Good success, good progress for her. A second round match will definitely be a battle. She takes on world number 11th, Daria Kazakina, I believe it is. And that will be a particularly difficult challenge for the Canadian, only on her third match back from injury. I think I said the wrong name. She will not be playing. She'll be playing. I said Daria Kazakina. That's incorrect. Elena Rybakina, also from Kazakhstan. I mixed up both players. Who is world number 11th. So some good. Hopefully, it will be a good match for her. Gabriel Diallo, male tennis player, got lucky again for the third time this year. Didn't make it out of the qualifications, but somebody had to pull out of the tournament, and as the highest ranked person in qualifications that got to the final round as the lucky loser, made it into the main draw of a 1,000 event. And he was supposed to take on Carlos Alcaraz in the first round, and got another bit of luck because Alcaraz also had to pull out, making it such that he was playing another lucky loser in the first round, did win, and is into the second round at Madrid. So he's getting some bonus points and climbing up the rankings, which is good for him. Sometimes you make your own luck, right? Leila Annie Fernandez unfortunately lost her first round match in Madrid yesterday. Denis Shapovalov and Felix Auger-Aliassime will be playing their second round matches, I should say, in Madrid today. And I should say I was mistaken for Leila Annie Fernandez. It was her second round match, and not her first round match at Madrid. Also, other success for our tennis players. Gabriela Dabrowski won her first title in doubles of 2025. with her partner, Aaron Routliff. So that's good. Not much had been happening for her at the beginning of the year, and I think she might have taken a little bit of injury time or personal time because she wasn't playing a lot. But they defeated Ekaterina Alexandrova and Zhang Shui 6-3, 6-3 in the final of the 500 level Stuttgart Open. So that is good for them. It's their first title together on clay as well for them as a pair. Also, in tennis news, kids and cubs, a young man named Cleve Harper has returned Canada to the top 100 in men's doubles tennis. We hadn't had somebody in there for a little bit. And with winning a tournament with his partner, Liam Drexel, he officially entered the top 100 in at 96th in the world and is playing another tournament this week. And he's in the semifinals of that one, so that should help his ranking a little bit. But you might start seeing this young man, Cleve Harper, on TV because when you're in the top 100, you often start getting automatic invitations to Grand Slams. So nice to see him reach his tennis dreams. He really is a double specialist on the singles rankings. Yeah, I think he's ranked 1,042nd in the world, but in doubles in the world top 100. So another tennis player of whom to be proud, doing really, really good things and representing us well. All right, Kids and Cubs, that's all I got for you today. Like I said, if we have any weekend shows, we'll let you know in advance. Hopefully not, because Monday's going to be a big day with the regular show. And then the live election broadcast, which, given that we have 7 time zones, might go on for a while. So I will rest up well and build up my endurance for a big night. Biggest night in 4 years, really. So this is what we live for. So it's time for the final push. While the opposition leaders and Mark Carney might be limping slowly to the finish line, although Mark Carney does have that Trump horse to ride now, given that Trump came out. And if I was Mark Carney, I swear I would be tearing strips off Pierre Poilievre's platform and just riding that Donald Trump is coming for us horse all the way to the finish line. So let's see if he takes some advice and does do that. Okay, that's all I got for you. Everybody, have a most beaverific weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye.